The final presentation this evening is mine, and it too is on a rescue. So this is a rescue train show water tower. And I featured this actually a couple of years ago, but it's had some modifications since then. So this is how I purchased it from the train show. Um, and I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was pretty inexpensive, roughly around $20. It's a scratch build. And I thought the water tower was absolutely exquisite. I thought the modeling uh, right there was just, you couldn't do any better. It's like Al Judy quality.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this stonework was terrible. I just thought that the stone was porous, the coloring was wrong. Knowing something about stone, you wouldn't see colors bleed across like that unless they were, you'd see individual colors, not bleeding of stone like that. Anyway, so I thought that was not so good. And I thought these end buildings, um, I thought they were adequate, but not great. So knowing that the masonry wasn't right, what I did is I thought, okay, I'm going to rebuild this. So I started with a piece of aircraft grade plywood, and I put in a foundation using Monster Works concrete block. So I just went too high, cut 45s on it, and then I cut Monster Works used brick, 4 sides, laser cut, laser etched basswood. And then it's the same size as my foundation, of course. Then using a disc sander, I put a 45-degree bevel on all the corners. And the Monster Works does have a orientation to it, so you have to keep your ups and downs. You have to keep score on that, or you'll put it in upside down. Then I did a layout, and then when I cut this door in, I saw that I had mislaid out this window. I moved it, so I caught that before I cut it. If I would have cut the windows out, I would have had to cut a new one of these. So I had an error there, but I moved the window over, and all was well. So I just cut this out with an X-Acto, filed it. These are going to have masonry windows. I corrected that so it's square. And then I built it up using this 1/4 inch material that I use for just about everything. So this is a very robust, um, really robust construction with this 1/4 inch material, all super glued together. We're not going to get any warping. You can see you don't have to be perfect with these 45s. They fit pretty nice, pretty tight. So that's my, this was the building that I thought was the weak part of the model. And when I paint this just fills, you don't even see these cracks. So then I glued it down to the base. Now these were the keepers. These are the pieces that I kept. This is the outstanding water tower. You just can't make it any better than that. And these were made out of styrene. And I'm going to improve them a little bit, but mostly I'm just going to paint them. But before I went any further, I wanted to see how this was all going to fit together. So I did a few mock-ups. So this is the way ideally you'd want it, with this water spout and all these doorways up front. But in the area that I had this targeted for the layout, if I turn this would be the back of the front of the building you wouldn't see from the layout. It would be totally hidden, as you'll see later on. You would just see the back. There's virtually no details on the back. So what I did is I reversed it. So in front of me here is where the track would be, and there's no detail. There's no door here, there's no door here. And unfortunately, you can't see this beautiful work, not too easily. But that's the location. So this is the look that I ultimately went with. That you'll see the back of the water tank, you'll see this fill tank that goes into this pump house, and you'll see these two side buildings. No, this was the paint team for this project. These are all the different paints I used. First, I used dull coat, as I've preached, presentation over presentation. After every color change, I spray a flat dull coat so I don't get a bleeding from one color to another. It's not so much a problem with this model, but on others it is. I use a very inexpensive acrylic black paint for the inside of my buildings that I'm not detailing the interiors. This was the color scheme for my railroad is yellow and green trim or brown trim or a combination of both, and yellow walls. And then this weathering wash, this thinner, medium, and then just white. I will use pan pastels as well. So the first thing I did is seal everything up with my favorite primer, the Tamiya surface primer, non-filling primer. Then, sorry, this thing's jumping around. And then I sprayed these outbuildings with the gray primer. You'll never get a yellow over or a green over those dark colors. It would require a lot of coats. So you want to prime. Sorry, this thing's jumping around. There's a bit of detail on here, sufficient. It's not terrific modeling, but it's sufficient for what I'm doing. Now for the brick, sorry about this. For the brick, I use this American Accents Rust-Oleum rust. It's a spray enamel and then a paint on with this acrylic, sort of a brown rust color, but it's very effective. So the first color is this, we'll call it obnoxious orange. You want to make sure you cover everything with it. And then with the acrylic, you just paint it on over the orange. There's the original orange. You paint that acrylic from the paint can on there, and you wipe it off with a cloth. You don't wipe it off with paper because you get the little fuzzies everywhere. So you got to wipe it down with like an old sock or something. And then I use this Robert's brick mortar formula, which is still available. It's sort of a slurry paste. I just use an old paintbrush and I just make sure I push it in between the bricks. And again, I use a old sock and I wipe it off. Can't use paper. And it gets between the technique that I just showed you on the painting of the base colors, using that mortar mix. That's a pretty effective brick, as you'll see. And then you can see I've painted the inside black. I drilled a hole here in case I want to light this at some point. These are all base colors. The base color for the gray here is still the spray paint for from the Tamiya. These are just the yellow acrylics. This is the craft paint, the yellow, and this is the hobby paint, the Vallejo. I'll go back and touch this up. It's not exactly on there. These are first coats. You have to go back and meticulously paint this, get it right. There's the other side. I'll go back and touch that up. This is the original window. I couldn't get that window out. They glued it in with about a tube and a half of glue. I think I just could not pry that window out. I wanted to replace it, but I couldn't get it out. Now there's the back. Well, this is actually the front of the building, but under normal circumstances, this would be the back of the building. There's a close-up of that brick. I mean, isn't that amazing? That's that Larkspur Monster Works used brick
Yeah.
with the orange enamel, the brownish red acrylic, and then the mortar mix. That's and that's without weathering yet.
Hmm.
That's pretty impressive brickwork. So I wanted to put some shingles on one of those outbuildings because I didn't think they were satisfactory. The best shingles that I've ever found that were made out of paper were from Paper Creek. But Paper Creek is long since gone. The next best thing, if you like those paper type shingles, is Bar Mills has this O scale coastal brown shake style shingles. They are pretty good approximation of the Paper Creek ones that I used to like. So I put them on here, right over those old shingles, right over them. You can see where I started the weathering process here. We'll get we'll get to that in a minute. So for the windows for the new brick pump house, these are I think these are Grant Line. I use my surface primer again. Then with this olive green, I just hand painted them. And then I weathered them with the pan pastels. You know, everybody becomes an expert with some of these materials that are available today. These pan pastels are a remarkable product. I know Greg Cassidy uses them. They take, I mean, they're just, I think Greg's going to do a clinic on it coming up. So there's the finished model. That's the back. See how I've weathered the brick,
Hmm.
some darks. I've weathered this. These are my railroad colors for the buildings, this yellow and green. Um, it's a very nice model. There's an up close again of the brickwork with the weathering on it. There's the left side, the outbuilding with the new bar mill shingles on it. There's some weathering here. The idea is this mold from water sitting around and seeping creates a black mold here. Very healthy. There's the other side. Sorry. This I just took some Paper Creek tar paper, put it over that, weathered everything else. There is the front, where, or what we should call track side. Again, I didn't touch this at all, really. And see how I toned those yellows down, that obnoxious bright yellows, now weathered out with the pan pastels. I did add a little up here, um, little growth, a little more mold. And there's where it's going to go. So this is from standing. This is Shantytown to the left, and that's the depot to the right. Um, if I had this stuff in the front where the track is, you'd never see it. So I thought I'll just reverse it. And there's the depot. See the company colors, green and yellow, green and yellow. It runs throughout my whole layout. So again, there's the original, which in my eyes, for roughly $20, this looked just fantastic, but this looked terrible to me and this looked weak. And then the rescued, a word coined by our very own Steve Sherrill.
Mm.
So I have maybe 30, $35 into this at the most, maybe, including the original purchase price. You can imagine a kit like that would probably run you a couple $100. So not only did we rescue a model from the trash can potentially, but we made a significant improvement in the model for short change, and it'll stand up to a contemporary laser cut kit. no problem. Yeah, there's even better photo of it. And it looks striking now. And anybody can do this.